Okay, we're going to solve inequalities by multiply or divide. Solve inequalities by multiply or divide. The goal is the same as before, and that's to get the variable alone. Get the variable alone. And we're going to do that today by multiplying or dividing. Alright, so let's see. We want to multiply both sides by a positive number. So we have negative 4 is less than 4. I'm going to multiply both sides by a positive number. I'll use 2. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. 4 times 2 is 8. Let's see. Negative 8 is less than 8, right? It's less than 8. You know what? That's the same symbol. The symbol did not change. It stayed the same. Less than there, less than down below. Now instead of multiplying by a positive, let's multiply by a negative number. Let's multiply by negative 2. Negative 2 on both sides. Alright, so let's see. 2 times 4, that's 8. And 2 negatives, well, 2 negatives cancel when multiplying. 4 times 2, that's 8. And there's one negative though, so that's negative 8. Okay, 8 is what to negative 8? Is it less than or more than? It's more than. 8 is more than 8. Negative 8. So you notice that it's not the same. We had to reverse the arrow to make it true. We had to reverse the arrow to make it true. Let's go up to the top and let's divide both sides by a positive number. Let's use positive 2. So I'm going to divide by a positive number. Alright, so let's see. 2 goes into 4 twice with one negative left over there. 2 goes into 4 twice. There's no negatives. So negative 2 is, it's smaller or is it more than? It's less than. Okay, so it's less than 2. You know what? The arrow stayed the same. When we divided, the arrow stayed the same by a positive. Now let's go ahead, let's divide both sides by a negative number. So if I divide by negative 2, let's see how that works out. 2 goes into 4 twice, and the 2 negatives, they cancel. On the other side, 2 goes into 4 twice, but there's one negative, so it's negative. So going left to right, 2 is what to negative 2? Is it more than or less than? It's more than. It's more than negative 2. Notice how we had to reverse the arrow. To keep it true, we had to reverse the arrow. Okay, so let's look at our results. We had to reverse twice. Once when you divide with a negative number, and the other time when you multiplied by a negative number. That's when we had to reverse the arrows. So at the top, when you multiply or divide both sides with a negative number, both sides by a negative number, you need to reverse the arrow to keep it true. Okay, so let's write this rule down so that we have it for future reference. If you multiply or divide both sides, multiply or divide both sides with a negative number. If you multiply or divide both sides with a negative number, then reverse the arrow. Then reverse arrow. But it has to be a negative number. Only with a negative number do you go ahead and reverse the arrow. Okay, I'm just going to draw a line across there, and now we're going to go ahead and start with our examples. Okay, remember our goal is to get the variable alone. To get the x alone, I need to get rid of 3. That's 3 times. I have to do the opposite of times. I divide by 3. Okay, so that is gone. That leaves it with x, and over here, 18 divided by 3 is 6. Question is, do we reverse the arrow? Let's see, the rule is reverse the arrow if you multiply or divide both sides with a negative number. Am I dividing by a negative number? No. So you leave the arrow alone. On number 2, again, we want to get the variable alone. That's times, so we need to divide. I'm going to divide by -2, both sides. Okay, so this cancels out, and you're left with x. And 16 divided by 2 is 8. Excuse me. You mixed up my colors here. Okay, 8, and there's one negative, so it's -8. Question is now, do we reverse the arrow? Yes, because I'm dividing by a negative number. See that? I'm dividing by negative on both sides. Therefore, I need to change the arrow. Change that arrow. Okay, number 3, I want the variable alone. That's 4 times, so that means I'm going to have to divide by 4, both sides. So that gives me x. On this side, 4 goes into 28, 7. There's one negative, so it's negative. Do I reverse the arrow? Well, let's see. Did I divide both sides by a negative number? Hey, there's a negative number here, but I didn't do that to both sides. It's the number you put down below or up on top, both sides. The answer is no. I don't have to reverse the arrow. It stays the same. It's only if you're doing it to both sides. Okay, to get the variable alone on 4, this is divide by 3, so I need to do the opposite. I will multiply by 3. Okay, that's going to leave me with just x. We got the variable alone. 6 times 3 is 18. And let's see, I multiplied by a positive number. So no, the arrow does not change. Okay, on number 5, notice I'm dividing by -4. To get the variable alone, I would have to multiply by -4. See that? That's how it gets rid of that -4 down below. I have to do this to both sides, though. So this all cancels out, reduces to 1. You're left with the letter x. On the right side, 3 times -4 is -12. Do I need to switch the arrow? Yes, I multiplied by both sides by a negative. So therefore I need to switch the arrow. So the arrow is going to go this way. Less than. And also notice that the coefficient, -4, so to get rid of it I have to multiply by -4. So if the coefficient is negative, whether it's on the bottom or top, you're going to have to reverse the arrow. Okay, I've already gone down the page. This is how also you should do your classwork, your homework, assignments. Go down the page and come back up and go down again the other side. Okay, I have -7 times x. So to get rid of the times, you have to do the opposite. You have to divide. To get rid of the -7, divide by -7. Let's do that to both sides. So that makes it reduces to 1. 1 times x is x. And 7 goes into 28 4 times. Only this time the negatives cancel. The question is now, do I need to reverse the arrow? Let's see, I'm dividing by a negative on both sides. See that? I'm putting negative 7, negative 7. So yes, I'm going to have to reverse the arrow. All right, we have 6 times x. So the opposite of times is divide. That's a positive 6, so I'll just put down a positive 6 below it. See, that will reduce to just x. On this side, again, I have to divide by 6. So on this side, left side, it just gives me x. On the right side, that gives me 6 goes into 35, and there's one negative, so it's negative. And let's see, do I need to switch the arrow? Let's see, did I multiply or divide by a negative number on both sides? Both sides, not just one side. Here I divided by 6. Divided by a positive 6, divided by a positive 6. The answer is no. The arrow stays the same. See, it's what you put down on both sides. If it's a negative on both sides that you put down, write down, then you reverse the arrow. Okay, here we have half of x. Now watch this. If you want to, by the way, x is on top. So if you want to, you just go like that. Notice the coefficient is 1/2, or you could say it's just divided by 2. So we will multiply by 2, both sides. And if I do that, the 2's cancel, and you are left with just x. It reduces to 1. 1 times x is x. On the right side, 9 times 2 is 18. Okay, let's see, I multiplied by a positive number on both sides. Does the arrow change? No, it stays the same. Little twist here. Now we have x on the right-hand side, the variable. Same procedure. You want to get rid of this 7. Right, that's divide by 7, so you multiply by 7. Both sides, you have to be fair. So this cancels out, reduces to just 1. 1 times x is x. The left side, 7 times 2, that's 14. And does the arrow stay the same? Yeah, I multiplied by a positive. The arrow stays the same. But you know what? I'm going to have to flip this around, because to graph this would be, you'd have to go against the arrow. So to make things a little easier for us, I'm going to put this to the side. If I put x on the left and 14 on the right, I'm going to have to reverse the arrow. Yeah, I keep the arrow pointing to 14. So really, this is the way we want to write it. Then yeah, this is another way that we're going to have to switch the arrow around, reverse it. So if you have x on the variable on the right-hand side, and you want to graph it, switch sides, but you're going to have to switch the arrow too. Okay, this is a very tricky problem. I have x on the right-hand side, but also notice that there's a negative coefficient. So to get rid of negative 4, you want x by itself. To get rid of negative 4, I'll divide by negative 4. You have to do that to both sides. And if I do that, this will end up being x. 16 divided by 4, that's 4. And there's one negative. And I'm going to have to reverse the arrow because I divided by a negative on both sides. So I reverse the arrow. Okay, but now, if I was to graph this, I'd want x on the other side. So to switch that around, if I put x over here on the left, and I put negative 4 on the right, see the arrows pointing to the x? You point the arrow to the x. This is how we like it to be, so we can graph it a lot easier. So it's like we reverse the arrow twice to get what we wanted.